The life and sad ending of J. Silverheels. J. Silverheels, born Harold J. Smith, was born May 26, 1912, in Canada, on the Six Nations of the Grand River, near Hagersville, Ontario. He was a grandson of Mohawk Chief A. G. Smith and Mary Wedge, one of the 11 children of Captain Alexander George Edwin Smith, M.C. Cayuga, and his wife Mabel Phoebe Dockstarter. Silverheels excelled in athletics, most noticeably in lacrosse, before leaving home to travel around North America. In 1931, owners of NHL's franchises in Toronto and Montreal created indoor lacrosse as a mean to fill empty arenas during the summer months, and, playing as Harry Smith, Silverheels was among the first players chosen to play for the Toronto Tecumsehs. Along with his brothers and cousins, Russell, Beef, Sid, Porky, and George, Chubby, also played on teams in Buffalo, Rochester, Atlantic City, and Akron throughout the 1930s, on teams in the North American Amateur Lacrosse Association. He lived for a time in Buffalo, New York, and in 1938 placed second in the middleweight class of the Golden Gloves tournament. While playing in Los Angeles on a touring box lacrosse team in 1937, Silverheels impressed Joe E. Brown with his athleticism. Brown encouraged him to do a screen test, which led to his acting career. Silverheels began working in motion pictures as an extra and stuntman in 1937. He was billed variously as Harold Smith and Harry Smith, and appeared on low-budget features, westerns, and serials. He adopted his screen name from the nickname he had as a lacrosse player. J. Silverheels was cast in a short feature film, I Am an American, 1944. From the late 1940s, he played in major films, including Captain from Castile, starring Tyrone Power in 1947, Key Largo with Humphrey Bogart in 1948, Lust for Gold with Glenn Ford in 1949, Broken Arrow in 1950 with James Stewart, War Arrow in 1953 with Maureen O'Hara, Jeff Chandler, and Noah Beery Jr., The Black Dakotas 1954 as Black Buffalo, Drums Across the River 1954, Walk the Proud Land 1956 with Audie Murphy and Anne Bancroft. In his television career, J. Silverheels achieved his greatest fame as Tonto on The Lone Ranger, 1949 through 1957. The fictional storyline maintains that a small group of Texas Rangers was massacred, with only a lone survivor. The Lone Ranger and Tonto then ride throughout the West to assist those challenged by the lawless element. Their expenses and bullets are provided through a silver mine owned by the Lone Ranger, who also names his horse Silver. Being irreplaceable in his role, Silverheels appeared in the film sequels, The Lone Ranger, 1956, and The Lone Ranger and the Lost City of Gold, 1958. When the Lone Ranger television series ended, Silverheels continued to be typecast as a Native American. On January 6, 1960, he portrayed a Native American fireman trying to extinguish a forest fire in the episode Leap of Life in the syndicated series Rescue 8, starring Jim Davis and Lang Jeffries. Eventually, he went to work as a salesman to supplement his acting income. He also began to publish poetry inspired by his youth on the Six Nations Indian Reserve, and recited his work on television. In 1966, he guest starred as John Tallgrass in the short-lived ABC comedy western series The Rounders with Ron Hayes, Patrick Wayne, and Chill Wills. Despite the typecasting, Silverheels in later years often poked fun at his character. In 1969, he appeared as Tonto without the Lone Ranger in a comedy sketch on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. The sketch was featured on the 1974 record album Here's Johnny, Magic Moments from The Tonight Show. My name is Tonto. I hail from Toronto, and I speak Esperanto. In 1970, he appeared in a commercial for Chevrolet as a Native American chief who rescues two lost hunters who had ignored his advice in that year's Chevy Blazer. The William Tell Overture is heard in the background. Silverheels spoofed his Tonto character in a Stan Freberg Geno's Pizza Rolls TV commercial opposite Clayton Moore and in The Finks opposite John Hart, both having played the Lone Ranger in the original television series. He appeared in 3 1964-65 episodes of NBC's Daniel Boone, starring Fess Parker in the title role. His later appearances included an episode of ABC's The Brady Bunch, as a Native American who befriends the Bradys in the Grand Canyon, and in the episode of the short-lived Dusty's Trail, starring Bob Denver of Gilligan's Island. In the early 1960s, Silverheels supported the Indian Actors Workshop, where Native American actors refine their skills in Echo Park, Los Angeles. In his personal life, he married Mary Di Roma in 1945. He was the father of his first son, Steve, 4 daughters named Marilyn, Gail, Pamela, and Karen, and a second son, J. Anthony Silverheels Jr., who also was briefly an actor. Silverheels suffered a stroke in 1976, and the following year, Clayton Moore, his co-star on The Lone Ranger, rode a painted horse in Silverheels' honor on the Pasadena Tournament of Roses parade. On Thursday, July 17th, 1979, at noon, Jay Silverheels received a star at the Hollywood Walk of Fame dedication ceremony at 6538 Hollywood Boulevard. In a wheelchair, Mr. Silverheels attended this special Hollywood event. Sadly, Silverheels died on March 5, 1980, from complications of a stroke at age 67. In Calabasas, Los Angeles, California. He was cremated at Chapel of the Pines Crematory, and his ashes were returned to the Six Nations Reserve in Ontario.